Hi everyone and welcome back to the George Collection. I'm Rachel Rightside Blonde. Today I want to talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump in the original George magazine. Out of 57 total issues from 1995 to 2001, Donald Trump's face was featured on one cover, and it just so happened to be the 47th. Donald Trump is the 47th president today. Ironically, just before the Donald Trump cover came out, the magazines were being put out every month, just like clockwork. And then they suddenly went to bi-monthly. And then immediately following the Donald Trump cover, they were back to monthly. So it's very interesting, almost as if it was meant to be the 47th cover. Some of these issues had two different cover designs, and this Donald Trump issue is one of those. So there were two different cover designs for this month with Donald Trump. One of them says February-March 2000, but the special one says March 2000, which is exactly 20 years prior to the announcement of COVID.
This is not a financial crisis. This is just a temporary moment of time that we will overcome together as a nation and as a world.
This is where things get kind of crazy. In February 1997, JFK Jr. put out the Survival Guide to the Future, and it was called Platform 2020. In his editor's letter at the bottom, he said, "Why don't you put this in a safe place for 20 years and take it out?" So we hope you enjoy George's take on the future. Why not put it in a safe place somewhere and take it out in 20 years? To paraphrase a great Englishman, it may not get you what you want, but you might just find In that issue, the Platform 2020 issue, they discuss a lung-attacking virus. So we have Donald Trump on the cover of George magazine in March 2000. Fast forward 20 years, like George told us to do, to save that survival guide for the future, and we have the COVID announcement. One thing I've always wondered about is why on the February 1997 issue of George, it says Platform 2020, because 20 years from 1997 would have been 2017, not 2020. So I always kind of wondered about that until you look at DJT, you look at the announcement of COVID on March 2020, you subtract 20 years and boom, there's Donald Trump on the 47th cover of the March 2000 issue of George magazine. Add in the fact that JFK Jr.'s editor's letter from that February 1997 issue says, "Take this out in 20 years." And then it gives lyrics to a song, which is a song that DJT played at several rallies, the Rolling Stones, "You Can't Always Get What You Want." When you start to put all of those pieces together, it starts to make sense. I know all this seems rather coincidental, but it all just kind of worked out beautifully, didn't it? Almost a little too beautifully. Another thing I find extremely interesting is that America is in its 250th year of existence. George magazine in 1999, the year that JFK Jr.'s plane crashed, published a book called The 250 Ways to Make America Better. Donald Trump's catchphrase is, "Make America Great Again." A very similar way to say that would be to make America better. And what's insane is that the red, white, and blue almost match perfectly, as if the book and the magazine are supposed to go together. The book came out in 99, the magazine came out in 2000. When looking at the magazine cover, there's something that someone pointed out to me that I hadn't noticed until recently that I wanted to share with you. But check this out. We have a picture of Heidi Klum, and up right next to her left shoulder is a baby blue circle that says poster inside, which almost looks identical to my logo, Rightside Blonde. You can't make this stuff up. So, is this all just one giant coincidence? Donald Trump on the 47th issue of George magazine calling a lung-attacking virus in the year 2020, and Donald Trump being on the March 2000 issue, exactly 20 years prior to COVID being announced? Doesn't seem like it. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. That does it for this episode of the George Collection. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
Of this extraordinary magazine, George, which is a hoot of a magazine. I thought you were a lawyer.
I was.
What happened?
Well, we decided, I mean, actually taking cue from folks like yourself and you around the 1992 election, that there was an opportunity here to change the definition of a political magazine. Certainly the way Americans were accessing information about politics and politicians was changing. Candidates were appearing on late night talk shows, on talk radio, on sitcoms, and there was a kind of a leveling process, and while the rest of media clearly had caught up with that, we felt that political magazines per se hadn't.
Your mother was a hell of an editor at Doubleday.
That's what I hear.
Would she have liked George?
I think she would have.